We are finishing our study of Unit 9 with Lesson 6, Fight or Flight, and Tropisms. For our warm-up, type your answer in the Zoom chat box. A student drew the picture of a human body system shown. The student labeled some of the organs of the system. The main function of this human body system is to. And I'll pause for you to answer in the Zoom chat box. If you chose B, exchange gases with the environment, you are correct. Okay, our goal for today, you should be able to demonstrate and illustrate forces that affect motion in organisms, such as emergence of seedlings, turgor pressure, geotropism, and circulation of blood. And you will investigate how organisms respond to external stimuli found in the environment, such as phototropism and fight or flight. And our essential question, how do organisms respond to external stimuli? Here are our standards. In our vocabulary, we have fight or flight response, hypothalamus, homeostasis, adrenal glands, hormones, tropism, environmental stimulus, phototropism, geotropism or gravitropism, thigmotropism, hydrotropism, chemotropism, thermotropism, and positive and negative tropism. All right, so the fight or flight response. This is a physiological response to stress. This response is designed to protect us from harm. It was first discovered by physiologist Walter Cannon, and today it is the foundation of modern stress medicine. We're going to begin with video.
Humans, like all species, have self-protective mechanisms to help us survive. Our fight, flight, or freeze survival response, the FFF for short, is designed to mobilize our brain and body to fight an enemy, run from an avalanche, or freeze to hide from a predator. Our brain sometimes misinterprets safe situations as dangerous and can set off false alarms. When the amygdala, our brain's watchdog, senses and barks danger, our body enters survival mode quicker than our rational mind can react, leaving it trying to figure out why we feel in mortal danger. When the FFF alarm is sounded, we start to breathe more quickly and shallow, causing hyperventilation, and our heart starts beating very fast. These changes can cause strong chest pain, which many people interpret as symptoms of a heart attack, when in fact it's just a result of the FFF activation, which can be relieved through breathing exercises. As a way of getting you ready for action, blood is diverted towards the major muscle groups. Blood flows away from our digestive system, causing the bladder to relax, and we might feel the need to pee. The mouth goes dry, nausea can occur, and we get the butterflies feeling in our stomach. Blood also rushes from extremities, leaving us with cold hands, but often sweaty palms as the action-ready body starts sweating to avoid overheating. Legs and hands can start trembling and feel weak, while tension starts building in big muscles like the thighs, neck, and shoulders. In our head, FFF alarms cause our brain to focus on negative memories, probably so it can scan them to avoid danger and negative outcomes. We get tunnel vision as our pupils dilate to increase our focus and long vision, but as a result, we lose our peripheral vision. FFF activation also reduces our ability to recognize differences in facial expressions. Too much oxygen and too little CO2 can result in dizziness or lightheadedness, which many people interpret as signs that they might faint. But because fainting is caused by a drastic drop in blood pressure, and because the FFF increases both our heart rate and blood pressure, it's nearly impossible to faint when this happens. Over time, depression, anxiety, and high levels of stress all harm the brain's ability to slow or cancel false FFF activations, causing them to happen more often. Knowing the symptoms of false activations makes it easier to recognize and reduce their effects. At Tanky Boxing, you can learn both bottom-up and top-down techniques to reduce false FFF activation and bring your body back to balance. Humans,
So the fight or flight response, this is activated by the hypothalamus, that's in your brain, which helps to maintain homeostasis. The heart rate and arterial blood pressure, body temperature, water and electrolyte balance, hunger and body weight, etc. It maintains homeostasis by linking the nervous and the endocrine system. So it activates the adrenal glands and the adrenal medulla. This releases the hormones epinephrine and I don't know how to pronounce that. Norepinephrine into the bloodstream. The hormones last 10 times longer than neurotransmitters. And the effects of this would be increased heart rate, increased force of cardiac muscle contraction, increased respiratory rate, increased blood pressure, increased blood glucose, and decreased digestive activity. Okay, and all of this is that fight or flight response. When the fight or flight response is activated, organisms experience. So your respiratory rate is going to increase. The blood drawn from the digestive tract and it's sent to the muscles. Your pupils dilate. Pain is going to diminish. You lose rational thoughts. And it's kind of like you go into attack mode. Some examples would be a mother lifting a car off of her child. Normally, she wouldn't be able to do that. Road rage, unfortunately. And in animals, you can see this, like rabbits will freeze when they sense prey. Deer run very quickly to escape prey. Actually, I think that should say to escape from being prey or to escape predators. And same way with rabbits, they freeze when they sense predators. Oh my goodness. And then bears fight other bears when they sense a threat. And you can see in the image, the threat has definitely been sensed. I'll make sure I didn't skip. Yeah, okay. All right, so this just shows you a little bit of what's going on in your body when you have this fight or flight response. And if you didn't know what it was called, you may have just sensed it as maybe being scared. So try to notice it next time that happens. Quick learning check. An organism's special survival instinct to threat is called. And I'll pause for you to get your answer in the Zoom chat box. If you chose B, fight or flight response, you are correct. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about tropisms. Okay, so a tropism is plant movement in response to an environmental stimulus. The response can be either positive or negative. If it's a positive tropism, the plant moves toward the stimulus. If it's a negative, the plant moves away. And there are many types. So all those vocabulary words, phototropism, geotropism, thigmotropism, hydrotropism, chemotropism, and thermotropism. It's kind of hard to say all that at one time. Here's a quick video.
The unfurling of a flower as a day breaks, or the snap of a Venus flytrap shutting. Occasionally, plants can respond very quickly to a stimulus. But most responses in plants are far too slow to see in real time. These responses are controlled by growth. Growth responses are constantly at work, directing plants towards or away from a stimulus to seek out the best conditions. They're called tropisms. The most crucial plant tropisms are to light, gravity, and water. Responses to light are called phototropism. Responses to gravity are geotropism. And responses to water are hydrotropism. Growth responses are either positive or negative, towards or against the stimulus. For example, when this seed germinates, the shoot will always grow towards light and upwards against gravity. Whilst the roots always grow down into the soil and towards water. But how do plants control these growth responses? The answer is a plant hormone made at the tips of stems and roots. Auxin. The amount of auxin can be affected by external conditions, and it encourages growth. For instance, because light falls unevenly on this stem, more auxin accumulates on the shaded side, causing it to grow faster. The result is a stem that bends towards the light. Knowing the effects of plant hormones means we can use them for our own benefit. Auxins are used in rooting powder to stimulate root growth on plant cuttings and increase fruit yields. For all plants, tropisms provide a critical response system, allowing them to seek out the best conditions for survival.
All right, so phototropism. This is the growth response of a plant in response to light direction. It enables leaves to be in the best position possible to receive adequate light for photosynthesis. Example would be stems growing towards the window to get to the light. And I'm sure you've noticed this. Or if you've ever seen sunflowers growing, they always face the sunlight. Geotropism. This is the growth of a plant in response to gravity. It's also called gravitropism. Positive geotropism would be is the growth of a plant towards the center of the earth, so down with gravity. Example would be roots growing down. And negative geotropism would be the growth of a plant away from the center of the earth, so opposite from the pull of gravity. So example, stems that grow up. Thigmotropism. If you look at the video, it's really cool. This is the growth of a plant in response to touch or contact. Positive thigmotropism is growing towards touch. So example, vines wrapped around structures, and you can see that in the image on the bottom right. Negative thigmotropism is in that video. It's the movement away from touch. So some plants close up when they're touched. Why don't you try it sometimes? Hydrotropism. This is the growth in response to water. So roots growing toward moisture would be an example. I'll make sure I didn't skip. Okay. And then thermotropism and chemotropism. Thermotropism is the tendency of plants or other organisms to bend toward or away from heat. An example would be rhododendron. Their leaves curl in response to cold temperatures. And then chemotropism is the movement caused by chemical stimuli. An example would be growth of a pollen tube is always towards the ovules so that reproduction can occur. Okay, let's summarize this all together. So how do organisms respond to external stimuli? Organisms respond in different ways. One way is the fight or flight response, which is a physiological response to stress. And then tropism is the other way. It's plant movement in response to an environmental stimulus. That response can be either positive or negative, And we've learned there are several different types of tropisms, and they range from responses to light, water, gravity, heat, chemical changes, and touch. So let's watch 2 little short videos to sum this up, and then we will do our exit ticket.
Have you run away from a saber-toothed tiger recently? Maybe you haven't, but the stress response you feel when you are late to work or the growl your stomach makes when you haven't had anything but an energy bar and coffee in the morning is the same stress response we had when we were cavemen. That stress response is called fight or flight. Grunk is a real-life caveman. He goes to work hunting saber-tooths and rabbits for his family. Unfortunately, the saber-tooth chases Grunk on occasion, and his physical and emotional stress levels go way up. When this happens, Grunk's body's intelligence kicks in to help him escape. His heart rate goes way up, his blood pressure spikes, more adrenaline is produced, and the body moves the blood away from the digestive tract and into the muscles, as digesting food isn't a priority at that moment. Grunk eventually does escape and rests at home, and after 15 to 20 minutes, his body resets and begins to operate normally again. Now, your body doesn't know the difference between running from a saber-toothed tiger or rushing your kids to school. Your body's stress response is triggered in both situations, so your blood pressure, heart rate, and food digestion is the same as Grunk's when he's running away from a tiger. These types of situations could happen every day in our culture. The difference between you and the caveman is the caveman was able to relax in his cave soon after he finished stressing out. So for the whole day, the caveman would stress the duration of a hunt, which would last maybe an hour. You, on the other hand, have to deal with the stress of racing your kids to school, traffic, work, relationships, and everything else that life constantly throws at you. Plus, add in the constant chemical stress that comes from the unhealthy foods we eat, and it's like you are running from the saber-tooth all day long. The solution is to build your own cave. You have to build your own cave every day, and it means finding some peace in the pileup of traffic while driving to work. It means going to bed on time instead of staying up late binging on your favorite TV shows. It means taking some time to go outside and do some relaxing work instead of locking yourself up in your office. Otherwise, this chronic stress will open you up to most diseases because your immune system will tank and a lack of nutrients that your body needs due to not being able to digest your food properly. Add to that the fact that your adrenals, which are the glands that sit atop your kidney and decide where your hormones go, are so active with the abundance of stress you experience and put into your body, you will develop adrenal fatigue. Put all this together, and now you know why stress is the start of all disease processes. How can we make our fight or flight more effective? How can we turn it off when we don't need it and bring it up when it's necessary? Ask yourself what you are putting in your body for energy. Your body is probably asking your brain for those artificial stimulants you gave it, like coffee, processed sugars, or genetically modified foods, because it's confused on why the adrenals aren't filling up like they used to. You have sucked your adrenals dry of hormones that didn't need to be active in the first place. That's huge because we are taking a finite source and sucking it dry. What people may not know is that a lot of things trigger the fight or flight response. Emotional stresses, eating unhealthy foods, overreacting to life's daily challenges, going through tough emotional times, all trigger fight or flight. However, that leaves a lot of areas where we can improve it. So if this video has successfully stressed you out with all the info it's loaded you up with, you should take a minute to relax. At least you don't have a tiger running after you. If you always put limit on everything you do, physical or anything else, it will spread into your work and into your life. There are no limits. There are only plateaus. And you must not stay there. You must go beyond them. Bruce Lee.
Hey, our last one.
Welcome to Moo Math and Science. In this video, I'd like to talk about plant tropism. Animals many times respond to stimulus by moving. For example, when you come home in the afternoon, your dog will wag its tail. Plants also respond to stimulus, but many times by growing. A plant's growth response towards or away from a stimulus is called a tropism. If a plant grows towards the stimulus, it is said to show a positive tropism. If it grows away from a stimulus, it shows a negative tropism. First, touch. Some plants have what is called thigmotropism. For example, stems of many vines, such as grapes and morning glories, show a positive thigmotropism. As vines grow, they coil around any object they touch. Plants also will respond to light. When a plant exhibits a response towards light, it's called phototropism. The leaves, stems, and flowers of plants grow towards the light. Take a look at these plants growing towards light. Also respond to gravity. This is called gravitrophism. The roots show a positive gravitrophism. They grow downward with the pull of gravity. Plants are able to respond to touch, light, and gravity because they produce hormones. A plant's hormone is a chemical that affects how the plant grows and develops. One very important plant hormone is called auxin. Auxin speeds up the rate of which a plant cell will grow. Auxin controls a plant's response to light. When light shines on one side of the plant stem, auxin moves to the shaded side of the stem. This will eventually cause the cells on the stem's shady side to grow longer and will cause the stem to bend towards the light. Let's look at another example of this. Anyway, tropism, how plants respond to stimulus. Thanks for watching, and Moo Moo Math uploads a new math and science video every day. Welcome
Have
to
you
Moo
run
Moo
away
Math
from a
and Science.
All right, so hopefully you understand a little bit more about fight or flight and tropisms. So plant growth toward or away from an external stimulus. What is that called? Type your answer in the Zoom chat box and I'll pause. If you said tropism, you are correct. I'll tell you what we're doing next.